Hello and welcome to this week's preview show ahead of tonight's game against Cardiff City. In the spirit of mixing things up, we've decided to get 3 Huddersfield Town fans on the call just to go through the season so far and how they've found it. So I'm delighted to be joined by sports presenter Matt Roberts, actor Danny Curran, and of course the star of Educating Yorkshire and head teacher Matt Burton. How are you all? You okay?
Yeah, great.
Thanks. Good, thanks.
Very good.
Fantastic. I'm sure this season for all of you has been a little bit strange. Matt, just starting with you, what's it been like not to be at the games, not to see football live?
Yeah, it's been weird. Obviously, I think for everybody, it's going to watch the games is a huge part of being a fan. I think we're probably feeling what it's like for most Man United fans now. We only get to watch their team on the TV. But obviously it's been in the stadium, but it's also been in the pub with your mates before it and after it. Spending time with the people that you love as well. You know, for me, I have a season ticket with my dad, and it's probably the only time that we really get to see each other because we don't have that much else in common. So, I think like everybody, we're all missing sort of normal life, as it were, and those social interactions and everything that football's about.
I imagine, Danny, Matt B, you're feeling the same.
Yeah, I mean, do you know, there were a couple of games, and there have been a couple of games in the past, I'll confess, where I got in from work at like 6:30 on a Tuesday evening or something, and it's freezing. And I've gone, should I? It's on Sky. I'm not sure. And that's not me as a fair weather fan, because I'm a season ticket holder. I go to every game I possibly can. But there have been a couple in the past where I've gone, I'm not quite sure. I'll watch it on Sky. And I honestly don't think I'll ever do that again. I'll never take for granted. I don't care who we're playing. I don't care how good we are. I don't think I'll ever take that, that privilege for granted. And things like, I remember one of the most challenging routes to a game we've ever done. Me and a few of my mates did I think it was for the Town Foundation a few years ago, the walk to Bury, setting off at some ungodly hour on Saturday morning, walking sort of something like 26 miles to get there, to be greeted with a plate of sort of half-eaten, moth-eaten sandwiches and like a scowl from everybody there. And I remember that game and thinking, oh my goodness me, that this is painful. But I would walk 26 miles to watch a live football game and watch Town live now. I'll never forget that also, that game. I think we were 3-0 up within about half an hour. Jordan Rhodes scored a couple, and then Bury equalised. I think it was 3-3. It was, and then we had to get a taxi back from Bury and stood just near the Town coach, waiting for a taxi to come, to pay for a taxi to get back to Huddersfield. And Danny Cardiff and Lee Novak came out, obviously had a shower and all that. They were absolutely fine. And Danny Cardiff just said, sorry lads, and got on the bus and went. But I'll never, ever, I'll walk anywhere to watch Town again now.
Yeah, it's been tough for me. I mean, I live in London, so I go to mostly away games. But with my mates from up north, who I haven't obviously seen since like February, January time. So it's been really tough that. Obviously we stayed in touch. I've watched all the games on iFollow. I've probably seen more of Town than I would have done normally, because I've been working less. Obviously being an actor, it's been a little bit different this year, but spent a lot more time at home. So in a way I've got to see Carlos's team more than I would any other team with a new manager, in a way, because of iFollow.
What have you made of Carlos?
I think he's brilliant. A mate of mine was saying to me, we love his chinos. You know those tight fit chinos? Those chinos, only he could pull them off, man. I don't know anyone else who could pull them off. But I think the way we're playing, I'm really enjoying. It's exciting. It's forward-thinking football, which we've not had for a while. Because even under Wagner, especially that second season in the Premier League, we were really defensive. Obviously, we had to be, but it's kind of been really difficult as a Town fan the last few years. And so it's nice to watch them express themselves fully. You feel like all the players are buying into it and then enjoying the football again. So and so then you enjoy it, obviously, watching it at the same time.
Have you guys felt something similar?
Yeah,
Go on, Matt.
Yeah, sorry, Matt. I think it's when you go watch your team play, you want to be entertained, don't you? As well. Obviously, you want to see the team do well, but you go there to be entertained, or you sit and watch it on iFollow to be entertained.
Yeah.
And that's a massive part of the experience. And I think that for quite a long time now, and I would even argue that even though the promotion season under David Wagner was obviously very successful, I would say the entertaining football that we played that year probably came in the first sort of 15, 20 minutes of each game, where we seemed to blow teams away. And then, hopefully we'd nick a goal in that time. And then, the sort of the tactics had changed a little bit, and we'd go a bit more defensive. And it wasn't exactly free-flowing, entertaining football, was it? You'd probably have to go back to Lee Clark, to the last time we had a manager that really got us entertaining the crowd. And I think that's a fundamental change that we're seeing with Carlos's team. That they and I'm sure that he's very, very results based, but the philosophy seems to be, let's just score more goals than the other team. So I'm sure lots of people have tried to pick on some of the defensive mistakes they've made so far. But for me, it's just a pleasure to sit and watch a team go for goal, try to create opportunities, get bodies in the box, create these overloads in different areas, and have these little relationships like Toff and O'Brien and Josh Caroma seem to have got at the minute. And I just see all that develop, and it's just much more fun to watch, basically, to me.
What I like is the fact that we've got a team now where you can see, certainly based on last season, you can see that genuinely coaching is going on and these players are getting better. These players are more suited to this system, and even if they weren't to start with, they certainly are now. And we're in a position now where it's like the guy said, it's exciting going into any game, and it's it is a pleasure to watch. I think what I can see is that it can be transformed, and I like the philosophy that actually we're trying to work with what we've got, and we're working on the players that we have, working with the players that we have, and obviously, clearly, I mean, you look at something like Josh Caroma, who's come on in leaps and bounds, and it's not just the confidence. I think it's that competence in certain areas and that football and intelligence, and you sort of see somebody like Bakuna, who is more sort of flexible and adaptable in that he can apply those different sort of intelligences to different positions on the pitch now. And I think that that comes through real high quality coaching and making players. I talk about it at work, being adaptable, brave, and calm. And that sort of that calmness that comes over the team and playing that way, come rain or shine, is really important. I think that's you don't want to be in a position where obviously you're losing the playoff semi-final 1-0 and clearly a ball over the top would help, and you sort of knocking it between the centre halves. But it's like the main thing is it's exciting to watch, and it's good to see, certainly with the young players coming through. It's really, really good to sort of track their development, and I think any fan likes to see as many young players in the team, certainly from the youth of the club as possible. It's great to see that.
Yeah, I've just got an idea for a TV programme here. Adam, this might be something you can get going on the YouTube. Educate Huddersfield Town. What do you reckon, Matt? You'd be up for
100%. And my little lad, who probably is going to run in at some point, wearing a Town shirt, it would be bang up for that as well.
I'm sure it would be fantastic. And I suppose there's nothing more so that sums up the system's so fluid as well, isn't it? In games now, you see us playing a 4-3-3, a 4-2-3-1, and then switching it up to a 3-5-2 or a 3-4-3. The players have to be so intelligent, don't they, to switch between those roles, especially someone like Hoggy, Dan, that you mentioned just then.
Yeah, and you look at like how far we push the fullbacks on now, and both Toffs and Pieper, it's a shame he's injured at the moment, but the way they've played, the way they go forward and find a space with Caroma and even Mbenza, look at Mbenza, like the difference in him is just, he's fantastic. And they do look like they've all got more of a smile on the face as well. It's like his style is, like you said earlier, suits these players. They all want to go forward. They all want to go forward and express themselves.
Matt, do you think, like, you sort of related it to your job in teaching as a head teacher. Do you think, I mean, it's difficult to judge it from the outside, but we talk about the coaching and the work with individual players and stuff, can you sort of see the benefits of that? Like, we're talking about guys like Mbenza and Bakuna, who are kind of, they look that much more engaged with the process now?
I mean, it feels to me like what Carlos is. I mean, I'm not trying to sort of psychoanalyze a coach who's clearly knows significantly more about football than I do. But what he has created, I think, is real clarity around what's expected. And once you create that clarity and sort of reinforce clarity, then it develops that ownership of that position. And I think once those players know exactly what's expected of them, because you look at you hear Leeds players talking, and they talk about, with Bielsa, knowing exactly what's expected of them in that position at that time. I listened to a podcast the other week about Emile Smith-Rowe, and he talked about how he's been brought through at Arsenal, knowing exactly what's required of every position that he plays in. And I think that's what you can see coming through more now. And whereas, when Mbenza was bought, it was for a very different system. Now that seems to suit him, but equally, he's obviously had to buy into that to make it for the system to suit him as well. So I think, it's got that, of course, it's, I think the players are buying into that quality of coaching clearly, and it's developing them, but equally, that coaching had to take, and the way that Carlos has gone about it, it wasn't just a one size fits all. It's clearly bespoke to the group of players that he's got, and those players are capable of doing that, obviously.
The likes of Mbenza just flourishing is exactly, I think, what Carlos is all about. He's got 2 goals this season, 2 assists, and you can see, like you said, he's got a smile on his face. He's walking around, his shoulders are back, his chin's up, and just those little things, isn't it? That's what supporters like to see. It's the hard work, the attitude, and them smiling and enjoying their football.
Yeah, definitely. And you don't mind, we all want to win every game as fans, but it's just not going to happen, is it? So we might as well enjoy watching them. And like that Stoke game, that crazy 4-3 where we defended really badly, but we scored 3 goals. I mean, I don't think we scored 3 goals for years. I can't remember the last time. You know what I mean? It's very rare for Town. So it's like, you win some and you lose some. And I think as we go forward, obviously Carlos is good at his job, and I think we will get stronger at the back as we move forward. But it's just scoring 3 goals is lovely. Just you can watch the highlights go rather than a 0-0.
Yeah. They're the moments you live for as a fan, aren't they? When you're in the ground, the moments that you get you out of your seat. And all right, if you come away with it, like you said, Danny, with the defeat at the end of it, at least you've got out your seat 3 times, and or more, hopefully. Yeah, that's the difference.
Literally every 5 minutes, he wants to go buy something else from the kiosk. So I'm out of my seat, much to the annoyance of the people next to me. Like time after time after time. So I'm sorry publicly to those people. I apologise.
I've got a bloke like that next to me, but I don't think he's going for sweets. Not judging.
Sorry about that.
When he comes back.
I'm with you.
We usually have to help him back to his seat when he comes back.
Oh, is that right? Yeah, he's not like that. No, but it is that. It's just that. I think we've all, in a sense, because you can watch games home and away, and there's no implication upon. The only implication on it is your time at home, and we've all had enough time at home. I think we've all sort of, in a weird way, seen more of Town than we would have seen in normal times. And I've not spoken to a Town fan who can't wait to get back. Every single person is buzzing to be back there, and there will be one day in the future, in the not too distant future, I'm sure, where it's a full house, and it'll be a really lovely moment. I think it's typical Town then to lose 3-0, isn't it?
Yeah.
Not gonna bother.
The atmosphere that day is going to be mega, though, isn't it? For so many. Yeah.
Be absolutely incredible. And we've touched upon some players already, but who have you guys been really impressed with so far this year? Who wants to go first?
I can. For me, the fullbacks I've been hugely impressed with. I remember watching Town against Chelsea. I think it was our first season in the Premier League, and I remember seeing Alonso. I think he was playing left back, but basically as a left winger, and thinking, "Cracky, they must be good." Like they just complete mastery of the game, and it just been basically attack against defence all game. And seeing Pieper and Toffolo come on in the way and identify that role, and not just sort of playing homage to it by sort of running up and down a fair bit, just doing it properly and actually strategically position themselves in a particular position, almost halfway up the opponent's half. It has been fantastic, and it's obviously brought the attacking instincts out of them. But then equally, been some cracking moments in defence with them. I think Eiting is clearly a shrewd acquisition. I think he's taken a little bit of time to get into it, but obviously over the last few games has really come into it. And then Lewis O'Brien, obviously, has been spending some time after his injury getting back into it, but he's absolutely looking the business. And that break for the goal the other day was sort of last season's Lewis O'Brien with a bit more of that steel and determination, that sort of clarity of what's expected of him in that role. And
yeah, it's funny you mentioned Marcos Alonso then, Matt, because he was when we got to the Premier League and you got to see these players up close. He was, for some reason, it must have been the same. Well, it will have been the same game. I'm about 5 or 6 rows from the front, and I saw him up close. And I don't know, for all the star players, your Harry Kanes and everything else, when you see somebody like that up close and get to actually appreciate just how good they are, weirdly, he was the one who stood out to me that year. I was like, wow, if that's Marcos Alonso, if he's that good and he's kind of like a average player at that level, it was just a sign of how good the level is in the Premier League. But yeah, obviously, I agree with Matt. I think with the full-backs people, what a brilliant signing he's been. And Toffolo, probably the signing of last season, really, and he's looking like he's already established now, isn't he, as one of the top players in the Championship. And I think with obviously with his assists, Toffolo, that's one thing, but also the way he's helping Josh Koroma as well. Like if you look at the goal the other day, and actually it was Eiting who made the overlap, but the way we play down that left-hand side, particularly where you get these overloads, and then like I'm a bit of a geek with looking at data and stuff like that, and all this expected goal stuff, and a lot of goals come from, the expected goals comes from the cutbacks from the byline that we've seen Toff do to Fraser the other week, and we see that. But the alternative to that, when teams worry about that and they go to defend that, like they did with Eiting's overlap on Saturday, it gives Koroma a chance to come in on his right side and get a shot off, and he's got that in his locker, hasn't he? So a bit like Karlan Grant did really as well. So I think Koroma as well, he's probably the one guy this year who's really stepped up and looks like a really good Championship player now.
I think one of the best things you can say about Koroma is that we've not missed Karlan Grant, have we?
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the biggest compliment you can pay him. I do think he'll be a more complete player. And I think Koroma this season has excited me significantly more than Grant has.
I think the recruitment really this season's been really good because they've picked players that they need rather than just getting any old person in. Like if you look at Sarr is the perfect centre-half for us. He's got the power and the height, but also the way he's on the ball. With Hoggy dropping in, it allows him to push forward and find those passes. And it's like, I think the recruitment's been good. If you look at Pieper and you look at Sarr and you look at Eiting, they're really good signings. Like some of the best signings we've had for a while, I would say. And hopefully it's quality over quantity, I think, and work with what we've got. Because I think it keeps togetherness as well in the group. So
that left-hand side's been so dynamic, hasn't it? Obviously, Harry Toffolo's 1 goal, 5 assists. Josh Koroma, 4 goals, 1 assist. Lewis O'Brien linking it in with both of them. Obviously, our main attacking emphasis has come down that side, especially while Pippa's been unavailable. But it's so dynamic. It's so exciting, isn't it, down that side?
Yeah. Was it the goal against Derby which was the goal? Can't remember. There was one where we basically from the edge of our...
is that?
The Derby goal was just, that was fantastic. We literally went the length of the field in like 10 seconds. And it's really hard for defenders to play against that, especially with the all cross runs as well. How United used to do it when they had Rooney and people move in different positions. They're not all in a set position. I used to be a centre-half. I mean, I would never want to play against this team because they're never just there. They've never got the back to goal. They're always running at you rather than backing up into you.
That's probably where Fraser Campbell's role goes or becomes overlooked because he's always on the move, isn't he? Creating space and holes for everyone else. For example, when Josh is cutting in, if Fraser's standing there, then the centre-halves are waiting and they're in a position to either block his shot or to block the next pass.
No, sorry. I think it's easy because they've previously been there. It's easy just to sort of overlook Fraser Campbell and Ben Hamer as well, who I think has done a cracking job. Because people sort of use the caveat that these are highly paid footballers and therefore they should just get on with it. And I think that's probably quite archaic viewpoint on things, in that he can't have not been affected by how it went previously at Town for him.
Yeah.
And to step up the way he has done and put in some cracking performances and actually be a key sort of cog in that machine of playing out from the back, because I think that's where Carlos has recruited goalkeepers too, has been fantastic. And again, the biggest compliment you can pay him is what I've just said, but also the fact that people were gutted a couple of weeks ago when he was out and when he had to self-isolate. I think he's done a cracking job and really stepped into it. And I think game on game, you can see that confidence improving. And I mean, obviously, when Schindler's been out, he's not been much of a constant defence because of the odd injury and obviously with the changing nature of COVID. But you'd like to think that when that settles and when the defence settles a little bit, that can, you can create a little bit more stability there as well.
Yeah, it's been. I think it's been quite interesting to see with the COVID thing. It's affected football in quite a lot of ways, obviously. But I think for someone like Ben Hamer, who was getting stick off the crowd, and even a manager coming in or a coach coming in and trying to integrate a new style that takes a little bit of time to adapt, not having the crowd there and not having that pressure, those negative comments coming from the stands and stuff, it just allows everybody to build that confidence a little bit as well. And I think you're seeing that a lot more. And I think not that I think that Carlos's position would have been in any kind of doubt, but if you look up and down the leagues, like I was looking at something the other day, and I think this time last season there've been 24 managers got sacked, and this year there's just been 11. So whether that's to do with like the finances with COVID, but also like that lack of kind of pressure from the stands as well, that people are just getting a little bit more time to get their ideas across. And weirdly, I think of all the negatives that have come from this situation, maybe that's one positive,
And another positive this year has been the youthful exuberance that's in the side. We've seen loads of academy players step up. Matt, you mentioned earlier how proud you are when you see young players and see them out on the pitch, like Ryan Schofield, for example, has played and started the last 2 games. Romani Edmonds-Green came off the bench and performed really well against Middlesbrough. Just to name a couple, I mean, I think there was like 6 academy players that ended the game against Middlesbrough. For you as fans, that must be really good as well.
That's great. I think it's fantastic. I think seeing them step up and do a really good job. There's one thing, sort of throwing teenagers who aren't ready for it on the bench and just sort of, a coach saying, right, just go on and do something as a to sort of fill a gap. But there's another thing when these players come on and absolutely thrive, and I think that comes again from obviously the system that's been in place over years, but the way that the B team system seems to be working now, and they've got those systems that interchange between the first team and the B team, so those roles are very clearly defined. But I think it's great when you see a young lad from the academy come through, often from who's been at Town for years and years and years. It's lovely because you get that real sense that production line, that continuity is carried on, and that that pride in the shirt and that sort of thing.
It's great for generating a connection as well between the fans and the club, isn't it? I think I'm sure you've got pupils at your school, Matt, who if you want them to be Town fans, they need role models. They need people to look up to and people that they can identify with. And if you can get academy players in, obviously, I'm sure for all of us, like one of the biggest heroes we've ever had at Town is obviously Andy Booth, the local lad. And the reason why he's such a hero is partly obviously because of the goals he scored, but also because he's one of us. And I think that's massive in creating that connection. And it's probably more important now at the minute than it's probably ever been before.
I'd like to see more of Matty Daly. I was at Charlton away last year when he struck that into the top corner, and I'd like to see more of him. But I think obviously he's still quite young, so he's putting him in bit by bit. But I think we probably will see more of him because every time I've seen him, I've been impressed. So hopefully he gets some more time on the pitch.
They all looked good in that. What was the friendly, Adam, that was just before the start of the season now? And I remember watching it on
the second half performance. Bradford, wasn't it?
The second half, Bradford, yeah, exactly that. Yeah, second half against Bradford when we played like pretty much all the kids and they turned the second half.
Yeah, they looked great, didn't they?
They all looked good. Ben Jackson, Josh Osterfield, so many kids coming on. You're like, right, who's this kid? And you know, he looked just as good as the next one. So that augurs well for the future as well.
Yeah, and some of them in that game were just 17 as well, which is unbelievable.
Yeah, that's mad.
Okay, crazy to think about. And obviously now I'm here at the Cardiff City Stadium. I wish you guys could be here with me, obviously. But what do you expect from tonight's game? Obviously, they're just a point below us in the table. It should be a tricky one, shouldn't it?
It's always one of those places I don't know, I expect little and then get positively surprised if we do anything positively. I don't know. I think this season, I'm sort of learning to look forward to it rather than think, oh, goodness me, that's a 2-hour hole in my night that I'm not going to get back, or my afternoon that I'm not going to get back. He's lovely. My little lad's just turned 5, so he's massively into it. And that's lovely. You mentioned, Matt, family ties to football and go with your dad and stuff. I go with my dad and my little lad and my brother and stuff, and it's lovely. And to sit in the house and watch it with him is great. Obviously, we'd rather be in the stands, but just looking forward to a game and just trying to, again, if we can impose that sort of system and the way that we play upon Cardiff, I can see a positive outcome. It is a long way, isn't it? But then we're in weird times, and those sorts of things sort of go out the window. I'm sure Matt's got a statistic about away wins. There was something about away wins, wasn't there? Was it the Bundesliga when it started back in June?
Yeah,
there was
a
ridiculous number.
More away wins, even this season in the Prem and the Championship. I think, obviously it's so much harder normally away from home without your own fans there, but obviously that's been negated this year because there's no one there, which is odd. So I don't know if anybody, every time I put it on or any time I watch Match of the Day or a game on Sky, it still freaks me out not seeing anybody there.
No.
It's still a moment where I go, wow, this is crazy what we're living
It
through.
is. It's even stranger being inside the stadium.
I can imagine.
You can hear everything that goes on the pitch.
The thing I find weird is how hard they hit the ball. Like, you can tell that when there's no crowd noise. And it's not a scientific term, but it's proper hard, I think.
About the Raul Jimenez and David Luiz one the other night, that was horrendous, wasn't it?
Oh, noise of it, yeah. Oh, it was horrible.
Yeah. Oh, I hope he gets. They're both all right, but I think he's fractured his skull. Is that right?
Yeah.
Hopefully he'll get better soon. Yeah, absolutely. Score predictions, guys. Matt Roberts, should we start with you?
Well, I think there'll be goals in it. Hopefully, I think they pumped Luton at the weekend, didn't they? 4-0 Cardiff, so they'll be buzzing after that. So they'll probably come out full of confidence. So yeah, I think there'll be a few goals in it. Let's see how we line up, but I'll go for Town and I'll go 2-1 Town.
Matt Burton?
I don't know, 1-1. I'm going to go with 1-1. I think they'll go ahead. I think we'll equalise, and I think it'll be a reasonably even game. I think entertaining, though. I get the impression we're going to be entertained.
And Danny?
I think they're going to be overconfident after smashing Luton 4-0, so I think we're going to beat them 4-0.
Wow. Well, we certainly hope for that, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. Town fans, if you're a season card holder, then you can watch tonight's game on iFollow HTAFC for free. You can also watch the game on the Sky Sports Red Button. If you aren't a season card holder and you haven't got the Red Button or Sky, then of course you can purchase a match pass for £10. Guys, thank you very much.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.